Okay, looks like we are live on Facebook. Welcome everyone and happy World Oceans Day. My name is Krista. I am the education coordinator for Save Our Shores. And today I have with me some very special guests, the 5th grade class from Mount Madonna School. So welcome them all here. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to have you here today so you can share with us the work that you all have been doing this past school year. And for those of us that are watching on Facebook, I'd like to invite you to post any questions that you have into the comments, and we will be monitoring that to hopefully incorporate your questions into this fun Q&A. So before we begin, I would like to kick off this Q&A by asking the teacher of the 5th grade class, whose name is Jessica, to tell us a little bit about her class, as well as the project that they were working on this past school year.
Well, first, Krista, thank you guys so much for supporting the 5th grade this year. Save Our Shores has been working with the Mount Madonna School Environmental Project for 13 or 14 years now. So we greatly appreciate working with you in everything that your organization does. As far as the 5th grade project, so each year the 5th grade class chooses an environmental project that they want to create change upon. So the class comes up with numerous topics, and the only parameters is that it needs to be a local environmental issue. This year, the students presented and voted to work on protecting sharks. So once they chose sharks as their project, then I worked to try to find as many partners that might be able to try to educate or work with them. So this year, the class was lucky enough to work with Shark Stewards and David McGuire, as well as Shark Allies, and then of course, Save Our Shores. And then once the kids pick their topic, then they work really hard to become the best experts that they can on their topic. And so they did a lot of research, learning all about sharks, the threat sharks face, and the different conservation efforts there are for sharks here in California, and specifically in the Monterey Bay. Once they've done their research and we've picked different partners to work with, then the students make a plan after learning about all the threats of ways that they think that they can actually create change to help the environmental issue this year being sharks. And so with that plan, I just kind of put out the parameters that we need to educate the public. We need to find a way to give back to the organizations that help us. So we try to find a way that we can fundraise. And we try to find ways that we can help in our own community, and then also how we as individuals can help the sharks with our own choices. And so with that, the students made their plan. They chose that they wanted to make an environmental movie this year about the sharks and use that movie to fundraise. So they collect donations for the movies that they sell, and then the money that they get from that will be given to Shark Stewards, Shark Allies, and Save Our Shores, so that they're giving back to helping the sharks. The students also went and worked with local restaurants to try to reduce plastic waste once they determined that that was an issue for sharks and actually all marine life. They've done a beach cleanup. They had hoped to do another beach cleanup with their little buddies, but due to shelter in place, that got side railed a little bit. And many other different pieces. They've made their own personal family pledges after looking at their own home waste. So they really just tried to work and find as many ways as possible to try to create positive change for sharks and the ocean environment in general.
Great, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the project. We are so happy to be able to highlight their work. I know a lot of your plans that they had to share their work was interrupted due to shelter in place. So we are happy to be a source to get the information out there. Before we jump in, you mentioned they made a little film project, and they had put together some presentations about the work that they had done. And so I put together just a 3-minute highlight video of the work that they did. And of course, I'm going to invite everyone to watch the full video at the end of this Q&A, but I wanted to share just a little bit about what they did. So let me pull up that video and share that with you now.
We are the 5th grade class here at Mount Madonna School. Each year, the 5th grade chooses an environmental issue that they want to help change for the better. This year, we decided that we wanted to help the great white sharks.
These are amazing predators that have survived 5 mass extinctions.
Many of the threats that sharks face are human-created threats. First and foremost is plastic.
But remember that we can only recycle plastic a few times, then it ends up in the landfill. Or even worse, the ocean.
Humans are overfishing sharks at a rate of 100 million sharks per year. These sharks are critical for a healthy ocean.
Although shark finning is illegal in the United States, we found that shark fins could still be sold, traded, or even shipped through the United States.
We started by using our constitutional rights to share our knowledge with the local, state, and federal representatives, and wrote letters supporting single-use plastic bans, stronger bans on shark finning, ending the shark fin trade, and a ban on gill nets and longlines.
We tracked our household waste for 5 days and mechanically drew individual pie graphs of our household waste and the trash we picked up.
Lastly, our class has created an original educational short film to teach the public about the sharks and how to help with their survival.
What is going on?
How can we get back to normal? Wait, you guys are all sharks.
Yes, Laurie, we've established that. Remember, you brought us our science experiment solution instead of the hot cocoa, and we all drank it, so now we're these in-between shark and human things.
Sharks are 450 million years old and have been on this planet longer than any vertebrate animals. Sharks are one of the most evolutionary successful species to ever live because they have survived the 5 mass extinctions.
Filling up the elevator.
Push buttons! Quickly, or we'll drown in this stuff!
It's plastic! What's drowning in plastic? Help! Plastic is a major threat to sharks and all marine life. 38 million animals get stuck in nets every year. 38 million.
Overfishing is happening for many reasons. Shark finning, shark meat, cosmetics, vitamins, and even in energy drinks.
If only people take the time and knew and understood, then maybe they would care more about how many sharks are killed by being finned or caught in ghost nets or just caught for trophies.
Sharks are amazing, unique, beautiful animals that keep our oceans healthy. In truth, they should be much more afraid of us than we are of them.
Okay, that was an awesome little highlight from the work that you did, but I will say that was just a small little portion of the amazing film project that you worked on. So bravo to all of you. Now to jump into our Q&A, I would like to start us off by asking, why did you choose sharks as the topic of your environmental project?
Would like to take that one. David? Okay.
Yeah, we chose sharks for our project because Jessica told us we could make a slideshow on anything, well, as long as it was something that was related to the earth or if it was hurting it. So we, 4 people in our class made slideshows. Mariska and Kenzie made a slideshow on sharks, and Noah and Delmy made a slideshow on pesticides. And Not everybody, but most people voted on sharks, so we chose sharks as our project.
Awesome. Thank you. So it looked like some of you had come up with other ideas, but you all agreed on sharks. And they are one of my favorite animals that live in the ocean. So next, I was wondering if you could share with me some interesting facts that you learned about sharks during your work on this project.
All right, Vaden, do you want to take the first part of this one? Vaden, can you hear us? Sometimes his internet is a little slow in the audio.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sweetie, you want to take the first part of some of the interesting stuff we learned about sharks?
Sure,
Okay.
I guess. Some of the interesting, we learned to, should it be like specific things?
Yeah, what is some of the really interesting stuff that we learned about sharks? So, like, why don't you talk about like the evolution of sharks that we learned and how many species are left today?
Okay. So the evolution of sharks, so basically,
Do you remember how long sharks have been around for?
they've survived 5 mass extinctions, but
And do you remember how many species of sharks there were originally?
there were I know that there was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Over 3,000.
Right. And do you remember how many species of sharks we have today?
Definitely less than that.
Okay. And do you remember how many places in the world sharks are found in? How many oceans?
They're found in almost all of the oceans except for Antarctic.
Excellent. And then Kinsey, do you want to tell us some about the different senses of sharks? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
not Kinsey. I'm sorry, not Kinsey. Romy. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Wrong one. Romy.
Okay. Well, sharks have many amazing senses, and it was really interesting to learn about them. But the least interesting sense is their taste, so I'll start with that one first. The taste organs of a shark are not highly adapted as their other senses because taste doesn't help them find food. Sometimes sharks will test bite potential food to see if it's edible, and if it's not, they'll spit it out. This is why people often survive shark bites. Humans aren't very yummy foods for sharks. Their sound. Sharks have really strong sense of hearing and are sensitive to low-frequency signals, like those made by a wounded animal. Their ears are located on either side of their head, behind the eyes, and they look like 2 small holes. They are made up of 3 cartilage tubes filled with fluid and lined with hair cells. The shark's skin is covered with tiny flat V-shaped scales called dermal denticles that are more like fish teeth than scales. The denticles decrease drag and turbulence so the shark can swim even faster and very quietly. This makes them amazing predators. The lateral line is in most fish and is used to sense tiny vibrations in the water. It is a row of small pores that run from the snout to the tail along either side of the shark's body. The water flows through the pores, and there are many tiny hair cells that sense vibration and movement. This helps the shark detect food and also navigate and not run into things in the ocean. Sharks' eyes are on the side of their head so they can see almost in all directions. The retina of the eye is divided into 2 areas, one adapted for day vision and the other for low light and at the night. Like cats, they have a layer of cells in their eyes that helps improve how they see in the dark so they can hunt in deeper waters. It makes their eyes glow green. One cool thing that great white sharks can do is by protecting themselves is they roll their eyes backwards into the eye sockets when threatened. Sharks have super sensitive smell since they are very important to their survival. Their nostrils are on the underside of the snout and lead to an organ called the olfactory bulb. If there was just a single drop of blood floating in 10 million drops of water, they could smell it. Actually, 2/3 of the weight of the shark's brain is dedicated to the smell. That's how important it is. The ampulla of Lorenzini is located at the bottom of the shark's head and snout. They are special sensing organs called electroreceptors that are in jelly-filled pores. These tiny pores are extremely sensitive and can detect even the tiniest of electric fields, like when a fish contracts its muscles to swim. This is like a shark's sixth sense, and I thought it was really interesting that there is no human equivalent to this sense. Great white sharks usually mean no harm when swimming next to you or trying to bite your camera. They're just curious. Sharks are very curious creatures and will often go near shark cages or bite your camera when you're scuba diving with sharks. Now, the ampulla of Lorenzini, the smell, the sight, the lateral line, touch, sound, taste, is so amazing that they have all these senses. And it's really amazing that they're being actually hunted to extinction, even though they're super curious and nice.
Oh, thank you, Romy. And thank you, Baden, for your answering the earlier part of that question. I am always so amazed when I learn about sharks because it does seem like they've evolved over time to be perfectly suited to their environment, which is the ocean. So everything you just described makes them masters of where they live, and I find that really fascinating. So we did get a question on Facebook that actually matches up with the next question I wanted to ask you, and that is, what are some of the threats that are facing our shark populations around the world? I know you go into this in your film project, but just for those that are joining us that haven't watched your film yet, what are some of those threats that sharks are facing?
Delmy, you want to take that? What are some of the threats facing the shark populations?
Yeah, well, I think the main threat to all of the sharks is definitely going to be shark finning or plastic pollution. Seeing as there's more plastic in the ocean than there is fish, it kind of makes sense that that will be what they're eating. And shark finning, it's really bad. They basically cut off their fins and throw them back in the water, and they need their fins to swim, and they need to swim to breathe. So it's one of the most important things that threaten them.
Delmy, how many sharks are killed per year for their meat or finning on purpose?
17 million?
Well, I think it's bigger than that. Does anybody remember how many sharks are killed per year, David?
100 million?
100 million sharks per year, yeah.
Wow, that is a huge number.
All right, and did we have any other threats, Delmy?
None of them are really as big as plastic pollution or shark finning, but they're being really threatened by villainizing of sharks, because since so many people are scared of them, they have these things called trophy hunting, and they hunt for sharks for fun. And after they kill it, they just throw it in the water.
Yeah, unfortunately, trophy hunting is an issue with all animals on planet Earth. So it's not surprising that sharks are now a part of that. So as part of your project, Delmy just mentioned plastic pollution. You investigated the impacts of plastic pollution. Can one of you share with us what you learned about plastic pollution and how it impacts these large apex predators that are at the top of our food web, such as sharks?
Noah, do you want to take the question about plastic pollution?
Yes. Okay. We learned all kinds of things about plastic. Like plastic is found at every depth explored, and 80% of what we use ends up in the ocean, which is, since every person in like America uses 185 pounds of plastic per year, and 80%, so that is, yeah, there's about 300 people in America, so that's 80 million pounds of plastic per year. And since 80% of that goes into the ocean, and there are 100 billion plastic bags used a year out of like the 80, and 500 million plastic straws used each day. 500 million. This all the plastic affects apex predators, or pretty much large animals. Like if you're a large filter feeding whale or something like that, you're gonna accumulate a lot of plastic because you're eating a lot of other creatures. You're at the top of the food chain, say you're a shark, and you eat like a tuna or something big. That has eaten other creatures that have eaten plastic. So the plastic moves up the food chain because you can't like pass plastic.
Thank you, Noah. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, they think that when plastic is out in the ocean that all the animals are just eating the plastic. But what they don't really connect is that these large predators are eating other animals that have consumed plastic, or have eaten other smaller animals that have consumed plastic. So it moves up the food chain. And so they all are impacted by that. Thank you.
Romy, did you have something you wanted to add to it? Okay.
Yes. Well, a reason why plastic affects sharks a lot is because it can damage their stomach lining and cause sharks to feel full, so they don't need to eat, so they don't get the nutrition they need because it doesn't break down really fast like paper straws would.
Excellent.
Thank you for sharing that. That is important, that when they eat it, most animals aren't built to digest plastic, so it stays in their stomach and never goes away. And a lot of animals can starve from that because they think they're full, when really they've just full of plastic. Thank you. So moving away from plastic, another threat that was mentioned in your film project, as well as here with us chatting, is overfishing. How does overfishing of other species impact sharks?
Kinsey, do you want to talk about overfishing?
Yeah, okay. So yes, overfishing is when we fish a species too much and they can't reproduce fast enough. Right now, this is happening to sharks, and they are dying at an alarming rate, which is detrimental to the ocean environment. The actual data that we have gotten is that 100 million sharks are killed a year, and 11,417 each hour. And the real question is this necessary? The answer would be no. We fish the species too much, and we need to stop. We are hurting ourselves and the ocean. And people don't understand the threats. So when we overfish a species, it's different than poaching one. Poaching is an illegal action when one hurts, kills, or hunts a protected animal. In the ocean, main animals are sharks and rays. In the USA, shark finning is illegal, but you can still sell, trade, or ship sharks to the United States. And in California, if you have a special permit, you can sell shark fins or shark fin soup. And so when one catches shark, they have to use the whole entire shark. So they take the fins and sell the rest to beauty products and fertilizer and all types of unnecessary things. So when you see when you see whitefish or rock salmon, it's actually a shark. They put sharks in foods and dietary supplements like shark liver oil, and really shark is really, really toxic. since, like Noah talked about, it just goes up the food chain. So when they eat the plastic, it makes its way eventually coming to us. And the process of finning is brutal. When a shark is brought aboard, they're still alive when the fisher slices the fins off, and the shark is thrown back in the water to eventually suffocate and die. The shark fins are used mostly for shark fin soup, which is well known and very popular in China. Shark fin soup is again super toxic and can hurt you. And you really don't taste the shark at all. You taste the other meat inside, like poultry and beef or lamb. And again, it's really toxic. Shark fin soup is a delicacy in many cultures and is very expensive. A pound of shark can be sold for $200. So in summary, shark fins are unhealthy and very unhealthy and very unnecessary.
Thank you, Kenzie. That was great. Now, I have had the pleasure of watching your film, and so have my coworkers at Save Our Shores, and we really loved the title that you chose, SOS, Save Our Sharks, A Fintastic Tale. And I was wondering, for those that haven't watched your film yet, and again, for those watching, we will be providing a link for you to be able to view the film. But can you give us some insight into what your film was about?
Solomon, do you want to tell them the plot of your guys' original story here?
Okay, so our film was written, filmed, acted, edited, and sold by us. We are selling our DVD as a way to raise money to support the different organizations like Shark Allies, Save Our Shores, and Shark Stewards that have worked with us and work to help protect the sharks and their habitat. Our story is about some everyday students in a science lab who accidentally drink their science potion and it turns them into half sharks, where they end up in an alternative universe. The kids get held up along the way by unexpected threats that the evil emperor put in their way. By the end of the movie, the kids have realized they are facing the same threats that sharks face every day and become eager to help diminish the threats to the sharks.
Excellent. And Solomon, what was your role in the movie?
I was actually the evil emperor.
The evil emperor, and which has quite a plot twist in our movie of who the evil emperor turns out to be. And Delmy, who were you in our movie?
I was the magical wizard named Professor Fart Sparkles.
And what does that wizard do with the kids?
It sends them to a door, which sends them to a magical alternate universe where they meet the emperor and face all of the threats that the shark faces.
Right, so they can understand better how they can help the sharks. And then the rest of them were different kids in the movie, each with their own personality. We have like a forgetful kid, and we have kind of the smarty pants kid. We have the kid that's obsessed with Star Wars in our movie. And then we have just the other kid that we put in the, and we have the
really hungry one.
I forgot. And we had the really hungry kid that talks. So this was a really fun script to write with the students because it came from an original story written by Noah. And then we kind of put in some other elements of other stories that the kids wrote. So they all came up with different plot lines, and then we try to blend all the plot lines together as best as we can to make a logical script. And this is kind of what we came up with, and it's pretty cute and funny. So they had a lot of fun with it.
Thank you for sharing. I hope people that are listening in are now really excited to watch your film. Just for those watching, for those watching that maybe have never made a film before or worked on a film project in school, what are some of the challenges that you ran into when making this film? And on the other end of that, what were your favorite moments?
Kinsey, you want to talk about some of the challenges that we had with making our movie, and then maybe Noah and Delmy, you guys could talk about some of your favorite moments while making the movie. All right, go ahead, Kinsey. Oh, I think you're muted, sweetheart. There you go.
Okay. So the big challenges in our class were when it got really hot and our shark onesies, and definitely quarantine. So it got hot one day in the garden when we were filming. It was unbearable and it slowed us down. So it was one of our biggest filming days too. And quarantine. That was a struggle. We luckily got to film most of it at school, but we had to put all the edits and effects on Zoom. So I think that was glitchy for most. And Jessica, our wonderful teacher, did most at home, but we had to do some of them, like the background music.
Excellent. And Noah, you want to share some of your favorite moments of the project or the movie or both?
Yeah, I remember the first and the last scene we filmed were both really fun. I don't remember a lot. It was pretty much all entertaining. I do recall laughing really hard for no apparent reason pretty much all the time. And I remember one time we just kind of looked at each other and then we started laughing for no reason.
And Delmy, what did you want to share?
There was a lot of things that happened very fast, but...
Oh, you got muted, sweetheart. See if you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. What were your favorite moments?
Well, I think that designing the coconut was pretty great. We put it in a bunch of pink fluffy feather boas. And the bubble scene where the bubbles didn't work and I was just blowing bubbles, but the container was empty and Romy was yelling, "Bubbles, bubbles, wait, where are the bubbles?" Or in the first scene when Kenzie was pouring the potion really, really slowly and then it spilled everywhere and we started laughing. And so we had to film it again.
And does anybody have any other favorite moments about the project outside of the movie? Like other things that we did with our project that you specifically enjoyed? Romy?
Well, at one certain point, we were raising funds, and me, Delmy, Kenzie, and Baden, we designed a big poster. But like halfway through, we just got bored of making the all tiny details and everything so perfect that we just cut out a bunch of strange looking fish and a picture of a coconut and glued it in every spot possible.
Good. And what was that poster for?
I think it was raising funds for our movie.
Yeah, like our thermometer to measure how much money we had raised. Unfortunately, we went into quarantine before we could actually use that poster, but you guys did end up raising over $1,200, just so you guys know, because I calculated it this weekend.
Wow, that's amazing. $1,200.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your challenges and favorite moments. I myself always wonder how people in the movie business do it. I'd be laughing all the time too. So after learning about the human impacts on shark species, I know part of your project was you went to local restaurants and you were doing some data collection. After looking at all that data, have you made any changes at home in your daily routine or things that you buy or do differently?
Right. Kinsey, do you want to answer that one? Okay.
Yeah. So I, as a person, have made many changes. I have stuck with my family pledge, which was to keep a reusable to-go container in our car, which actually works really well. I also got my family to eat veggie meat instead of real meat, which helps lower the climate change. And meat industries are a really big part of climate change. I think we've all made a change, especially because we got to see how really all of these problems affect sharks. And I think we have improved a lot after this report and will help people change too.
Excellent. And David, what was your family pledge? Do you remember of what you guys have done?
I think it was something with food. I think I have the paper upstairs, but
Oh, that's okay. And Romy, you have something to add?
Yes. Well, even during quarantine, our, I think almost entire class went to restaurants and we gave speeches hoping for, if they used a plastic straw, then we would try to find an alternative so they could use paper straws instead. And I think almost everybody in my class, their restaurant agreed. And we weren't at school like we were going to be, like calculating all this data and writing everything down and our notebooks and stuff like that. But we did get to do the restaurants, and we did end up giving like a Zoom call or a speech with them. So
excellent. And Delmy, you had something to add too?
One of our teacher's favorite things that got changed was she switched to a very special kind of toilet paper. She was very excited about that.
I'm glad you bring up toilet paper. That was something I learned myself just in this past year, that toilet paper contains plastic. And that shocked me. So I'm glad you brought that up. We can share that with those watching. Now,
yeah, we kind of learned that every little change makes a huge difference, right? So the idea behind our family pledges was to find one small way that our families could change after we analyzed our home data and to try to make a difference.
great. Now to share some of those pledges, things that people can do for our viewers, what is something that they can do to help sharks? And I know a few people that have been watching on Facebook are also wondering something similar. What can we do to help sharks?
Delmy, you want to start?
Yes. So one of the main things is probably to use less plastic.
Oh, Delmy, you muted yourself again on accident. I know, it happens.
I keep doing that.
It's okay, go ahead, start again.
To use less plastic items, because apparently there's plastic in everything. So you could switch to bamboo, metal, cloth, paper, or another thing could be just stop supporting the news and little things like that.
Okay, and then Kinsey, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, you can also definitely like spread a little awareness throughout your own community. And even if people are a little edgy on that, it's still, it's still a good thing to do.
Okay, and Solomon, you want to add something?
Delmy was talking about finding alternatives, but you could also buy in bulk so that it's one package for more of the thing that you were trying to get, and it would reduce the amount of plastic as if they were individually wrapped or in smaller packages.
Okay, and then Romy, you had something?
you could also, if you're a super big fan of sharks, you could write letters to your representatives, or you could like protest and say, I don't like this. This is not good, and I think it needs to change. And I think with more people aware of what's happening to sharks, it will create a big difference.
Yeah, so like writing letters, I think you wrote about gill nets for one, right? So the different types of fishing gear that's used because it kills a lot of animals accidentally. Okay, oh yeah, and your letters back from your representatives. All right, and Kinsey, you had something you wanted to share too?
Yeah, so you can also support the organizations helping sharks. So like Shark Stewards or Shark Allies that we also work with. And you can switch your meal to a plant-based meal, so that will reduce the amount of climate change or your carbon footprint.
Excellent. And does anybody remember the name of the products or the name of the ingredients that have shark in them that people don't always realize are sharks? Noah?
I remember, like Kenzie said, like rock salmon and whitefish, but there was squalene, which they mostly use in beauty products. And there was one more. It's going to come to me later.
That's
Shark
okay.
liver oil?
Probably the shark liver oil or shark cartilage. And not just the plastic, remember sharks also have a really high level of mercury in them too, the heavy metals that are in the ocean because of all the animals that they eat. So they have a toxicness on both sides. All right, does anybody else have any other ways that they can help sharks that they want to add in? All right.
All right, thank you for sharing. Now, before we wrap up your Q&A, there were a couple of questions we received on Facebook. This one is from Margaret, and she said that she's learned a little bit about the Greenland shark recently and is wondering if that was part of your research, if you studied the Greenland shark, because she heard they can live up to 450 years old. And so we're wondering, did you study that shark, and do all sharks live that long?
All right, Delmy, it looks like you want to try to answer that one.
Not all sharks live that long. The sharks are all very varied, depending on where they live and how they live. But also, there's been a lot of threats to the sharks, and when you're really threatened, life doesn't tend to be as long as it could be. Also, the Greenland shark, we did study it in a lower amount than the great white shark. We did some research on just sharks in general, but it was mainly focused on the great white shark.
Yeah, and we found that that was one of the oldest sharks. Who remembers the name of the smallest shark that was recently discovered? David?
The pocket shark, I think.
A pocket shark. And how big is a pocket shark?
3 inches, I think.
It fits into the palm of your hand, right? It looks kind of like a tiny whale more than it does a shark. And we also discovered sharks that glow in the dark. So we studied a whole array of sharks in general, but our focus, because we live near the Monterey Bay and we have a lot of great white sharks here, even though they're definitely not the most endangered shark, our focus was mostly on great white sharks in depth, but we studied sharks in general. Solomon, did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you for answering that Facebook viewer question. We had another viewer on Facebook that you may have touched on this in some of the other questions and answers that you've given, but someone is wondering, how can we advocate for outlawing shark finning? So I know you've mentioned we can write letters to our representatives. Is there anything else that we could do to try and get that outlawed here in the US?
All right, Solomon, you want to start?
Mostly just write letters, use your voice, make a difference, tell people what you think, and if enough people agree with you, then change will be made.
Okay, and Noah?
Like we were discussing maybe a few minutes ago, that sharks are in a lot of products. If you look at the ingredients list, you can kind of figure out what's shark and what's not. I found a paper, and it has a list of all the different names that shark is under. Should I just read them out?
Yeah, why don't you tell us a few of them?
Okay, there's quite a few. Flake, husk, catfish, dogfish, grayfish, steakfish, whitefish, lemonfish, cake, steak, rock salmon, smoked rock salmon, smoked dogfish, rig, gummy, seam ham, oro, tofu shark, ocean fillet.
So just being aware of what contains shark products can help eliminate it. And as a class, we actually worked with Shark Allies specifically to help shark finning in the state of Florida, because through our research and working with Shark Allies, we discovered that Florida is a major hub for the shark fin trade. So even though shark finning is illegal in the United States, we can still ship and trade. And the students' letters, and they worked with Shark Allies, and that the no fin Florida law actually made it through the House and Senate while we were in school this year, which was really exciting. And it's sitting on the Florida governor's desk. So one way you can make an impact right now to help sharks, because most of the shark fins are shipped through Florida to other countries, is by contacting the Florida governor and asking him to sign the shark fin law bill into play for Florida. So that would make a huge difference that everybody can do while sheltered in place.
Thank you. So people on Facebook would like to have a list of those ingredients. If any of you are able to type up that list into our chat function here, then we can copy and paste that for our Facebook viewers. So I think it was Noah that had the list.
Yeah. I'm not sure which website it's on, but we printed out a website, and I think it's called Warning Contains Shark. But I will type those up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. So warning contains shark. So it sounds like making your voices heard by supporting bills that are on the floor and making sure that those representatives know we support those bills, as well as knowing what products contain sharks and trying to avoid them can be big steps towards reducing shark finning. So thank you. Well, I think that is it for our Facebook questions. And I would like to just say thank you so much for all of our viewers for joining us. We only showed a short clip with highlights from the students' presentations in their film project. So we invite everyone to view the full film at the link that we will be dropping in just a moment right into the comments section. And if you were registered for this event through Eventbrite, you should have received the email with a link to view the full film as well. But thank you so much to all of you for being here today. I know you graduated from 5th grade last week, so you're all now officially 6th graders. Congratulations. And thank you for sharing your project with us. I hope that our viewers that have been watching have learned something new about sharks on this World Oceans Day, as sharks are a really critical part of a healthy ocean. So I hope everyone takes care, and I like to sign off by saying best fishes, everybody.
Thank you, Krista. Can you guys, oh, Noah, did you have something to add really quick?
Yeah, when I click on chat, it says the chat is disabled.
Oh, okay, we'll fix that, don't worry.
Oh, don't worry, we got the website. We'll put it in on the Facebook, so. Thank you, everyone. Do you want to unmute yourselves and you can all say bye?
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.